Ladies and gentlemen, you've waited. And finally, for the moment some of us have been waiting for. Tonight's debate will feature the very impressive Scott Smith Johnson Garcia against his opponents Esteban Ramirez and the Venezuelan superstar Lil Castro. Tonight's debate should be quite the night, folks. Stay tuned.
The first candidate we will introduce is Scott Smith Johnson, or as we know him, Scott Smith Johnson Garcia. Scott grew up in a small town in Alabama, in a wealthy family.
Scott's great-uncle Tom had been leading slave merchants of the Confederate South. Following the abolition of slavery, his family had to find a new business. They found in everyone's favorite household utility, toilet paper. They were left with billions.
Scott's family has been very rich for generations. Scott didn't think it was fair that his family was so rich, but others had nothing. He attended Harvard University and founded his school's very first Cool Communism Club, or the CCC, as we know it.
Scott was wealthy, had a good education, and led a very interesting life traveling with the CCC. Everyone loved Scott.
So Scott, what would you say was your biggest accomplishment? Having this massive following in the CCC from nothing, or being the charismatic and handsome man that you are?
Yes. When Scott heard about all the problems Venezuela was facing, he decided to go over there to run for office and help out. In order to boost his credibility when he arrived, he legally changed his name to Scott Smith Johnson Garcia, so his name would sound Hispanic.
Everything was going so well for Scott, until one day.
Hey guys, we're gonna go surprise Scott for his birthday. I have a cake. Let's go. Oh, shit.
Oh, you're literally the worst grind I've ever seen. Anna, get behind me. What are you? Literally nano me. What are you doing, kid? Get good.
The video went viral, and the public was left wondering whether a man like this was fit to lead the country. The main rival candidate for Scott in the 2020 Venezuelan election was Esteban Lazo Ramirez. After getting his high school girlfriend pregnant, his father didn't think he deserved the amount of child support that he was paying, so he kicked him out at age 16. Shortly after, Esteban realized that he could contribute to his nation. He saw it in the colors of the armed men who served his country. So what does that mean?
He was a soldier.
Esteban was a natural. He followed orders, was in perfect health, and was an all-around strong guy. The only issue that he had was that he was completely illiterate and a sexmonger.
He was ejected from the Venezuelan army within 72 hours of arriving.
Esteban lived on the streets for roughly 12 years before resurfacing to the general population. In fact, he resurfaced so intensely and so quickly, most of you already know who he is.
As most of you know, Esteban went viral in June of last year.
Bro, no. Oh, fuck!
As a result, Esteban became an overnight sensation, appearing on Ellen, The Tonight Show, and even Pornhub.
So, Esteban, how has this newly found fame impacted your life? Oh, okay. So what have you done with all the money you've made since the video's gone viral? Oh, okay. We're gonna go to commercial break. Oh, okay. Next question.
Esteban was very popular among the people, especially among the younger generations. One day, it came to the New York Times' attention that a millionaire wanted to have Esteban be the frontman to his political campaign because he was such a big fan. He was essentially the face of Benedict Charleston Williamson Cornelius IV campaign. The only thing was that no one knew what he looked like.
He was definitely a crime boss, but we don't like jumping to conclusions.
After about 2 months with Esteban being involved in the campaign, Benedict was reported to be dead.
When Benedict died, there were no pictures of him that released. Hopes of seeing Benedict's appearance died with him.
Esteban was left with Benedict's campaign to run. Esteban's announcement of the participation in the election increased his press ratings by tenfold. The media loved it.
Esteban became the most popular person in Venezuela. Unfortunately, people weren't exactly confident in his abilities to run the country as a result of his past appearances in the media.
A smaller but relevant candidate in the 2020 Venezuelan election was famed rapper Lil Castro.
Castro was a Venezuelan superstar. Young people revert to the verses in his songs as gas.
Despite being a musical phenomenon, Castro led a quiet life in the Venezuelan suburbs. While he had a materialistic nature, his fear of getting robbed outweighed his desire to flex a mansion. However, Castro found every other opportunity to flex with other items.
Castro had it all. He had the money, the nice car, even the new Louis Vuitton AirPods.
What is your favorite part about being the most famed rapper in all of Venezuela?
In late 2012, one of Castro's girlfriends checked him into rehab after a rough couple weeks of Castro experimenting with crack heroin.
You see, crack heroin is a mix of both crack and heroin. But here's the catch. It's laced with Rice Krispies, so you get that snap, crackle, pop in your veins. It's really quite fascinating. Castro's public image had been destroyed. Everyone had suspicions that he was a drug addict, but it was never truly confirmed until he checked into rehab. Once he came out of rehab, he was not the same man. Instead of living in the spotlight, he lived hiding in the shadows.
In January of 2019, Castro announced his candidacy for the Venezuelan election.
Castro's announcement was a huge shock to everyone in the country. He had been hiding in the shadows for 6 years, and then he pops up out of nowhere and decides he wants to run for president.
The last candidate for Venezuelan election was the impressive, distinguished politician, Jose Hernandez. Jose was a very active Venezuelan political activist. Born in the suburbs of Mexico, he grew up as a middle-class student and achieved very high marks in all of his subjects.
Yes, Jose was quite the impressive student. He often outshined his classmates and had a very extended vocabulary.
Jose graduated from Miguel Hidalgo High School as valedictorian and studied abroad in England's very own Oxford University. He achieved his master's in political science and shortly after gained local power in Guanajuato. A hurricane in Venezuela ruined most of the country and left devastating effects. When Jose found out about it, he resigned his position as governor of Guanajuato and began Red Cross volunteering to help his fellow Latin Americans. Jose arrived at Venezuela as a savior, but he left as a god. He was loved by everyone. The children aspired to be just like him, the women threw themselves at him, and the men wished they were him. Jose was a humble lad, and certainly a role model to the people. In February of 2020, when he announced his candidacy in the election, he was instantly number one in the polls. But one day, Jose was out at his church sermon for crippled, orphan, dying children when tragedy struck yet again. Not many people knew this, but Jose suffered from major erectile dysfunction, which hindered his ability to urinate properly. As a result, bladder issues arose over the years.
So I'm here today because when I was 11 years old, my mother died of cancer.
You knew immediately that he was dead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the final debate for the 2020 Venezuelan election. I'm your host, Geku Manfroy. Throughout this debate, questions will show up on screen submitted by the citizens for our three candidates to answer. Let's begin with question 1.
Hi, I'm Catherine. How will each of you combat the social disorder amongst the lower income areas and the middle class, who often pays for their rehabilitation?
Well, I believe that we should possibly do away with all of the social order in the country. You know, freeman and slave, partisan and plebeian, lord and serf. In a word, oppressor and oppressed. I believe that if we take some ideas from our neighboring countries and possibly some of our farther neighbors, that our country in a whole could do a lot better.
This video neither supports nor encourages the use of illegal substances under any circumstance.
Y'all need to know what's going on. Give me that cash and give it all. Please vote for me if you like weed. I'm with Castro. I get that B. B is for vote.
Hello, my name is Jose. What solution do you propose to stimulate the economy after the hurricane?
Well, I believe that if you could possibly give the central government full control, that we'd be able to treat the citizens and the people very well, much better than we are right now. And I believe to simulate that all of the people should begin working a lot harder to achieve this goal.
Thank you.
Are you joking? You're clapping for this? Look, this fat walrus-looking piece of garbage, he can't even speak properly.
Okay, next question. We are moving on.
Hello, my name is Jared. This is a simple but necessary question for all of you. Why do you think you should be elected as our leader?
I got that clout and the big mouth. I'll be in the street smoking ganja out here. Please let me lead and smoke that weed. I'm a rap god. I'm what you need.
You have no idea of anything whatsoever that even correlates with politics. And you're a drug addict. Esteban, you're literally homeless. You have no education. What are you even doing here? You are incapable of wiping your own ass, yet you think you are fit to lead a country? I think this country needs to look at who the real dictator...
No. A candidate should be a mouthpiece of the people along with its government. We should be transparent, yet reflecting all of our people's ideas right back to them. We are nothing if we are not a government who responds to the people. What you speak of, sir, this dictatorship, this absolute monarchy, is insane and the exact opposite of what we need for our country. What we need for our country is a candidate and a government that can do everything in their power to provide for the people, with the people, by the people. Thank you.
That's all for tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, honestly, I think I'm exactly what we need. A real candidate should be a mouthpiece of the people. God.